Welcome to video 2, Setting Up Logical Stops by Urban Forex. Okay guys, so in this video, going to be more focused on stop losses. Okay, how do you put your stop losses, where do you put your stop losses, etc, etc, etc. I want you to not think about, do I put my stop loss below the recent low? Do I put my stop loss 50 pips away? Do I put my stop loss after a doji pattern? Don't think of it like that. Think of it like this. How did you enter this trade? Okay? You know all that research that led up to entering that trade? Now think what can make that trade not work. Okay? So for example, leading up to this area, so what I did was once I enter, I put a standard stop loss pretty far away. Okay, I put a standard stop loss pretty far away as I start the trade. However, notice I have this alarm here. I also, along the way, put an alarm where if the trade as it's going up comes back here, we are now back into the money spot where I need to closely monitor it. And if I go through the money spot to the downside, I don't want to be in this trade anymore. However, I don't want to keep my stops here because in case he does this and spikes up, I don't want to be taken out. So I put my stops initially further away, but I'm very observant of, am I actually taken away from the money spot or am I going to come back to the money spot? So the money spot is very critical for you to understand. Your stop needs to be a little bit healthy onto the other side of the money spot. Okay? It is only then you can gauge how to put your stop losses in a smart way. Now, in terms of take profits, it's a whole different game, but I want you to really focus on the stops for now in this video, because this is what this whole video is about, is where do I put my stop losses. So in this case, let me see if I can straighten this up a little bit. Let's take it a little bit further back. Okay, so let's say you're looking at this pullback here. Okay, so let's say it's an uptrend, just as a rough example. Here's your pullback coming in. And since this is 6 o'clock in the morning, there's no markets here, but the markets start around 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning as Frankfurt to London starts opening. So market pulls back, okay, very aggressively, and then you do your research and you're like, okay, it's going to take some time, but the final meal that you see is here leading up to the opening of the market, and you're like, okay, I know pound is strong, I know Aussie is weak fundamentally, and let's assume that it's even broken the highs from Asia. Okay, so let's assume all these factors. That's telling you now the only thing left to do is get into the trade. So getting into the trade is, okay, large meal, some digestion, no lower low, great, show me more. Okay, once it does that, oh, further digestion, great, now show me a sideways movement, so I know the big boys are building up. And you start to get that sideways movement. From that sideways movement, as you enter, whether you enter within that sideways movement or you enter as it's leaving that sideways movement, that is totally up to you. Stops go below, well below the money spot, but you want to put an alarm around here, around the money spot, that if prices by any chance come back to here, you need to be quick on your toes to figure out, why is it coming back down? Is it just bouncing or is it starting to hold below? That means this money spot has been taken for the sellers and you need to get out of that position. Instead of taking the full stop loss, you can actually exit sooner. If you've seen a lot of my videos, either on Instagram or Facebook, you will notice I don't usually take the full hit. Okay? I will always get out of that position when I don't see it's working my way almost immediately. Okay? If it doesn't work almost immediately, I want to be out of that position. Okay? Because all the research leading up to it should get you in at the right spot. Okay? So this helps you to put a logical stop loss. Let's move on to the next video so we can talk about where do you exit your trades properly.